Okay, good morning, everyone. Thank you very much for joining. It's just after 9 o'clock. And yeah, a little bit of a slip up on my side. I neglected to send out the link again last night. I got a bit busy. So I sent it out about 5 minutes ago. So hopefully the rest of the people will join us as we carry on. But I'm not going to keep you guys. So let's start with the presentation for today. Today, we're going to talk about transmission and display products, what we've got there. So again, for today, there will be no operational training in the sense of setting up the devices and so forth. But I do have Damon that is helping us again today, as always. Thank you, Damon. Thanks for joining us. So we will take questions and those kind of things, and we'll gladly answer them after the training. So yeah, let's start with this training. Please enjoy. Okay, so all right, like I mentioned, transmission display is what we're going to talk about today. We're going to see what we have to offer. So you'll see that Hikvision is not just a CCTV company, and I'm sure most of you are aware of this. We don't just do CCTV. Yes, CCTV is our core business, but we also venture into other directions, like this one, for instance. So let's start. Okay, so we're not going to cover all of these things today. Just want to quickly show you in a nutshell, more or less, what we have regarding transmission and display. So we've got from monitors to commercial displays to switches, cables, decoders, and controllers and transmission. So the transmission, a little bit different to the normal switches. This is what we call the, the wireless transmission, and also, optical for fiber optics and those kind of things. So let's quickly have a look at these devices. And also, like with the other IP CCTV devices and all of our other product ranges, we break them up into different sections. So you can see P's and D's. So everywhere you'll see a P and a D. So P for project level and D for distribution level. So D is your more day-to-day type of products, where P is your more project level type of products. So let's quickly have a look and see what we have in store for you today. So we're going to start off with some spotlight products, and then we're going to look at some upgrades that we've done and possibly some upcoming products that's going to come along soon. All right, so first of all, we're going to start with the unmanaged PoE switches, but these are gigabit PoE switches. Then we have dual link 100 megabits per second PoE switches, indoor network cabling, some nice series monitors we have, interactive displays, as well as our LED displays section. All right, so these switches that we've got here has been developed with 1 gigabit network ports for all the PoE ports. So it's slightly different from our conventional CCTV switches, where we use these switches not just for CCTV, but also other devices, like you can see, other PoE devices that needs a little bit more than 10/100 network speeds. So from your wireless access points, it needs PoE, VoIP phones, all those kind of things that we can add to the PoE switches because they all have now gigabit ports on them. And you'll see that we have from the 4-port 8, 16, and 24, although there's one more port because it's the 4 PoEs plus your uplink ports. All right, so that's how we calculate it. So you'll see a 10 in the model number or a 5 in the model number is actually 4-port plus 1 uplink. 8-port plus 2 uplinks, and so forth as it goes along. So these range of switches have all gigabit ports. So all of the ports are gigabit, and then obviously PoE on the majority of them, except for the 2 uplink ports that you can see. So there's also an option for normal RJ45 network cable connection, plus you'll have an optic fiber connection in these switches as well, making them much more versatile. Using them throughout other industries and not just for CCTV. But as you can see, you can basically use them for everything there, so including your CCTV and obviously venturing out into other objects or other devices that also needs PoE but demands a little bit higher speeds on the PoE ports. All right, the dual uplink 100 megabits per second PoE switch, this is again more for CCTV, but what makes this one slightly different is that the normal is the 10/100 speeds that we have on the PoEs, plus then 2 uplink ports over here, which is slightly different from our normal 8-port PoE switch. So the 2 uplink ports, normally you'll connect like your NVR to the 1 port and the rest of your network to the other port and so forth. But also what makes this switch very, very nice to use is that we've got one special port, a high PoE port, the very first one on your switch there, port number 1, and that is meant for your high power PDZ type of cameras. That needs a little bit more than your normal 30 watts PoE from the conventional switches. So this one here, we've got a dedicated port with higher PoE, 60 watt rating on that, and then obviously the normal PoEs for the rest of the ports over there, your normal AF and AT standards between 15.4 and 30 watts on those, but a nice dedicated port for PDZ. So you don't have to run a separate PoE switch or a separate power supply, something like that for your PDZs anymore. Just get one of these switches and you can use them for your normal CCTV as well as power a PDZ from there. All right, so our cable, we especially say that it's indoor cable. It's not UV resistant and those kind of things. So it's it needs to be installed in some kind of a piping if it's going to go outside, so conduiting or Bosal piping or something like that. But what makes our cable different is that because of the high quality cable that we supply. So this cable has been tested, in the Fluke labs and all those kind of things, Fluke tests and so forth, to make sure that they are up to standard, to make sure that it's 100% good quality cable. So it's not very easy to break. We've put a lot of effort into the strength of the cable itself. The electrical properties also has been up to a very, very high standard, and then stable transmission. So the quality throughout the whole roll, the whole cable, have been tested. So we've got all the certifications and stuff for that, plus the flame resistance that we put into the system. So into the sleeves and so on of the cable, so that it does not flame up and distribute the fire to the rest of the building. So if it does get burnt, whatever, it will not burn further. So there's a flame resistance CM rating that we've got in these cables, so you know that it's flame retardant. So perfect for your building use and so on. All right, then if we look at the monitors, so we've got different kinds of monitors here. The monitors between this is more the entry-level type of monitor. So the QE series is a more cost-effective version of the monitors. We've upgraded that to the FN series. So the FN series is basically the same pricing as the entry-level monitor, but it uses a much smaller bezel, so it's almost frameless. So see, it's got a narrower bezel and perfect visual experience, which is more suitable for your daily work, and so forth. And also what we've done is we upgraded them to 4K. So a lot of our monitors will be up to 8 megapixel resolution, which is perfect for your end-to-end 4K system. So we've got 8 megapixel cameras, 8 megapixel compatible NVRs or DVRs even, plus your 8 megapixel 4K monitors. So end-to-end 4K system that we can provide. All right, then we have interactive displays. So different kinds of interactive displays, a little bit less for CCTV and more for your everyday type of business. And I'm sure these days, because of Zoom and all those kind of things, we need a little bit more of these things. So we have them. So we've got different sizes, obviously different applications. So smaller sizes, I'm sure you've seen these type of things in visitor areas, maybe in airports and so forth, waiting areas. So you need a larger screen for to cater for a little bit more people. For the office areas, we've got wall-mounted types. You can see this one is mobile, so it comes with a stand like that. And then we also have interactive displays, which means that you can touch on them, you can write on them, you can scroll with your fingers instead of having to scroll on a PC and those kind of things. So much more interactive. Plus, we've got laser projection, and this is for your medium-sized conference rooms that you can have these kind of monitors. And then we also have interactive displays. It's full LED for your larger conference rooms and so on, to cater for that. Now also the brackets that you can get for these monitors, we can either go for floor standing or the wall mounted brackets. So we also have those brackets. And then another nice little upgrade is for you to be able to connect your laptop, your PC to the screen, do a wireless connection to that, so that you can display whatever you need to display on this. And like I said, it's not just for CCTV and those kind of things, also available for third-party applications to be able to transmit and display this, something like a PowerPoint presentation or maybe a Zoom meeting or something like that, where we have the wireless options you can connect to the monitor. All right, the LED family that we have, we've got from indoor and outdoor versions. So you can see the indoor version over here, outdoor version over there, which means it's completely weatherproof. But the other difference between them is the mounting type, so installation. So you can see that this type of monitor over here, these blocks, these LED blocks, is front mounted, which means you don't have to have space behind the monitors to walk in there and to do your wiring. Everything can be done from the front. We also have the indoor fixed one, also front installation. And then we've got the outdoor version. It's got rear installation, so you need to do a little bit of cabling and wiring stuff from the back. But the nice feature is about the front mounting. It saves a lot of space in your control rooms or your wall rooms and those kind of things, because you can push it all the way up to the wall and do everything from the front. And then we have the LED controllers, because obviously we need to apply a couple of these blocks. We need to put a couple of these blocks together to form a larger screen, and then we need something to control it. So we've got LED controllers that will do the configuration of everything for you. So your input device will connect to this, and this will handle those sections, those blocks that you put into the configuration seamlessly. And then we have this LED multifunction card that gives you remote capability. Remote capability in sense of an actual remote, instead of having to run to the back with maybe a laptop or something to configure a few things, brightness, contrast, those kind of things. You can do it from a remote from the front. So it makes life a little bit easier on that. We're going to talk about this again a little bit later. All right, so we spoke of actually on the previous slide about fine pitches. Let me quickly go back there. So fine pitch there and those kind of things. So the pitch, what it means is we're actually referring to the pixel pitch. The pixel pitch means the distance between the different pixels. So this is 1.2 millimeters, 1.5, 1.8, and 2.5 millimeters in between pixels. And it depends on where you want to use this, how close you're going to be to these monitors and so forth. And a little bit later on, I'm going to give you a quick ballpark figure to work out for recommendation purposes, where you install this, how you install this, and how far your audience must be from the monitors. All right, so you can see that we can go 1080p, we can go up to 4K. It just depends on the pixel pitches here. There's your total size that you can build it up to, and then obviously the number of units you can put in there. So you can see we go quite wide with a 10 by 16 units over there for the 2.5 pixel pitch. It creates an area of 51 square meters. That is a huge monitor. So there are different options. Like I said, I'm not going to go into detail of everyone, but we are going to discuss quickly how to work out which ones you need for which application. All right, looking at this indoor fixed LED one, we've got pixel pitches from 1.8 all the way to 3.7, and that creates all the way up to a 74 square meter screen. It's a fantastic, huge monitor. I would love to have one of these in my house. Actually, I would love to have a house that's big enough to house one of these things. All right, the outdoor fixed one, like I mentioned, this is completely weatherproof. So you can use this larger pixel pitches, because outdoors we're normally much further away from these monitors. So this is typically what you'll see, billboards, stadiums, those kind of things, those kind of monitors you see over there. That's where this goes into. So we've got a 1:1 aspect ratio, which means it's perfectly square. So it's easier to work out exactly how many you need for the size of the monitor that you want to build up. We've got we're using a Meanwell power supply, so it's very well known throughout the power supply market in the world. So very good power supplying to these devices. Wide angle view, 120 degrees horizontally and vertically. So it's quite a wide audience that you can actually get to view this monitor from all different kinds of angles. And like I mentioned, IP65 water and dust proof for this. So this is perfect for outdoor use. All right, the LED controller that controls these LED screens. Now, this is not just one block. This is normally meant for multiple of those LED blocks, depending on the configuration you put together. You're going to need something that's clever enough to know how to stitch all of these things together to make it look like it's one big monitor. All right, and that's where the LED controller comes in. So we've got different LED controllers depending on the application, with different kinds of input signals. You can see from HDMI, DP, and DVI inputs over here. And then obviously you'll see this one's only got 4 outputs. We've got more 4 and 8 RJ45 outputs depending on the size of the screen and the resolution obviously that you want to build up to. So you're going to need a specific LED controller for the configuration that you need to put together. But we are always there to be able to help and make sure that you do get the right configuration, right LED controller for whatever you plan to install. All right, this intuitive system, because of the multiple LED blocks and so forth that you can put together, you might need to put or have multiple LED controllers, because each LED controller can only control so many of these LED blocks. So we're going to rely on multiple LED controllers, like you can see, and they will link from one to the next, to the next, to the next, and each one will connect to a couple of different sections of LED blocks on the monitor to form one big, large screen. All right, so basically how it works, you're going to have your LED controller. It's going to have a cable out, which is going to sequence. It's going to plug from the one monitor to the next monitor to the next monitor and so forth in a specific sequence. But then we have a backup as well. So just in case your network cable does break for whatever reason, we will then use the other one as a backup to create the sequence again. So that if you, like I mentioned, if you have a problem with one network cable going out to your monitors, we do have a backup. So it creates redundancy to make sure your display is always up and running. All right, the LED multifunction card, what this basically does, it adds this little guy here that interfaces with the LED controllers and the monitors, like you can see, but that gives you remote capability from the front of the screen to see what's happening while you're changing the display. So similar to your TV remote, where you set up different kind of screen brightnesses and contrasts and all those kind of things that you can control from a remote from the front to see what you're doing while you're doing it. So it helps a lot with that. Otherwise, you're going to have to go to the back and program this thing. Okay, so the connection mode works like this, just to make you understand, and I think I did explain this a little bit before, but you've got your LED controller with a couple of network cables coming out of it. And if you've ever been to our office, we've got something very similar set up there. We can show you live, how this was done. But you'll see from the LED controller, it takes the network cable out, and that will connect from one screen to the next, to the next, to the next, and so forth. The red lines, as you can see, is also the power. So the power will come into one monitor and then jump or bridge from one to the next, to the next, to the next, to make sure that everything is interconnected, power-wise and video signal-wise. You can see there's multiple network cables here for different sets of screens there. And then your LED multifunction card will also connect to one of these monitors in this configuration. It doesn't have to connect to each and every one of them, because all of them are basically, I don't want to call it network together, because we use this obviously for the video signaling and so forth, but that then interfaces in there in the sequence somewhere to also give you the remote capability. All right, so the topology works like this. I already mentioned the LED controller, but that is limited to the amount of monitor blocks that it can control to form a larger screen. So if you need to go fairly large monitor size and so forth, we can also then upgrade it with a video wall controller. The video wall controller is a completely modular system with a selection of input and output cards, and you can build it up to the size that you want to. And that can then in turn connect to different LED controllers to then connect to multiple screens for your larger type of monitors or larger type of screens that you want to build up. All right, the video wall controller also has a selection, like I mentioned, input cards in it to receive just about any kind of a video signal coming into it. So from your analog VGA type of displays to your high definition digital type of inputs and so forth, it can handle all of those. So it just depends on what you want. We will then recommend the correct input cards for this, and obviously the correct output cards to connect to the rest of them. So I'm not expecting you to know everything about the LED controllers and exactly how many or whatever you need. We are there to help you with this. So don't hesitate to contact us should you have such kind of project that you need to get your hands onto. All right, so if we're looking at the type of brackets, I already briefly mentioned this before, but we've got different kinds of brackets for indoors and outdoors. We're going to get to the outdoors now, but there are two types for indoors. We've got the rear maintenance one, and we've got the front maintenance one. So I already mentioned the front maintenance one a little bit earlier. That makes up for a bit of space, wasted space, where you can push your your monitor's all the way against the wall. You don't have to have space behind the wall to maintain and assemble the system, which makes, creates a little bit more space in your control room or wall room. All right, the rear maintenance ones, yeah, obviously this is floor standing, where you can get the front maintenance one wall mounted. So another difference there. But the thing is, you need about just under a meter of space there for a person to go into the back and to be able to assemble all of this, and so on. So there's two. There's rear maintenance and there's front maintenance ones. The front maintenance ones, again, is a big upgrade in the sense of you mount the monitors from the front, you do all the cabling and everything from the front, and so on. So it makes life a lot simpler, and you're saving a lot of space because you can push your monitors all the way to the back. All right, the outdoor brackets. We do have outdoor brackets, but with a word of caution. This is now a very different to your normal standard type of wall mount or floor standing indoor brackets. This needs to be customized for every screen because of the mounting scenario. So they might be mounted to buildings, and buildings have got different kinds of structures that I need to mount to, either from the back, maybe like this one you can see is different levels and so on, different types of brackets. You can see this one needs to stand on poles, and there's a single pole. So what we recommend is that you build your own bracket locally here in South Africa. We will help you with the plans and the configurations and the dimensions and all those kind of things for your application. I think it'll save you a lot of cost if you're going to do it locally. We can design and do it from HQ, from China, and then ship it here. But I think it's going to be more cost effective if you do it locally. We will give you all the support that we can, along with the plans and designs for them. But yeah, I think it's going to be a little bit cheaper if you just get somebody to make it according to the specs for you locally. All right, some scenarios. Now, just to give you an idea of what kind of a pixel pitch and so forth you're going to need for the different kind of scenarios. So we're going to look at the fine pixel pitch, anything less than 2.5 millimeters, pixel gaps, the gaps between the pixels. All right, so smaller than 2.5 millimeters. This is normally recommended for your high-end conference rooms and things like that. Your wall rooms, you can see something like this here and so forth. Your command centers, monitoring centers, and maybe even television studios. All right, so we need a higher quality type of monitors and so forth, or displays less than a 2.5 millimeter pixel pitch there. Indoor fixed, you can go slightly larger than your 2.5 millimeter pixel pitches, and this is for your shopping centers and transport hubs, exhibition halls. You can even see, those places where people are a little bit further away from these monitors than in a dedicated conference room or something like that there. And then for outdoor scenarios, obviously we're a lot further away from these monitors. You can see like the billboards on the highways, in stadiums, we've got those monitors there. So they, for your highways, glass walls, stadiums, celebration events, and those kind of things where people are a little bit further away from this even, you can go for the larger pixel pitches, the 6, the 8, and the 10 outdoor type of monitors for those applications. All right, but we're going to get to a little bit of math. But it's easy math. I'll show you how to work these things out. Okay, scenario solution. LED full color display. This is for your conference rooms and so forth. You're going to need your fine pitch. Like I said, anything less than 2.5 millimeter pixel pitches for your conference rooms and control rooms and those kind of things, along with your LED controller with the inputs, HDMI, DP, your display ports, or the DVI type of input signals from your PC. All right, so this is typically a scenario for your conference rooms and control rooms and so forth. All right, the next one, your command centers. This is typically like larger control rooms. You can see typically like this application over here. It's a little bit more involved, a couple of more blocks and screens over there, a little bit larger. But we're going to look for the fine pitch or the indoor fixed LED range. You're going to look at a couple of decoders as well as video wall controller. All right, so the decoders will feed the cameras and NVRs and stuff will feed into the decoders, and the decoders will feed into the video wall controller. The video wall controller will then feed into the LED controllers. Look, the LED controllers is to control a sequence and a certain amount of LED blocks per controller. So we will work out the amount that you need depending on the size of the monitor that you need, and we're going to need the video wall controller to push the signals to them. All right. The nice thing about this video wall controller configuration, and I'll show you a little bit later as well, it's got a type of a pad, like a tablet control. We've got an app for that where you can control also input signals and what needs to be displayed and needs to be displayed on these monitors as well. So a lot of flexibility when it comes around or comes to the video wall controller type of setup. Your shopping centers and so forth, again, you're going to need your LED controller plus your LED blocks. But what we added here is a digital signage box. And a little bit later in this presentation, we're going to talk about the digital signage as well, because we have those products. The main thing about digital signage is that you want to be able to control from one management platform, send signals out to multiple digital signage boxes to multiple monitors so that all these monitors can display the same things, typically like your airports and so forth. You can obviously control multiple boxes to display different things as well, but you can also sequence them or synchronize them basically for displaying purposes. All right, your stadium type of applications, you can see this is a lot larger monitors and so forth. We're going to use the outdoor fixed LEDs plus a video wall controller. Similar type of scenario than the control rooms. We've got your video wall controllers and you've got your multiple LED controllers there to connect to the monitors. And then the input signals is obviously dependent on you. Whatever you need to put in from your HD cameras, from your TV boxes, it's a network connection from a VGA, DVI, DP, HDMI, those kind of inputs, it's all configurable and all modular in the video wall controller, like I mentioned before. All right, this is a little bit of math. I hope I didn't catch you too early on a Friday morning. Let's do some math. You didn't know that you're going to sign up for math today, right? Okay, so how do we decide, how do we know which combination to use for different scenarios? Okay. So first of all, you're going to need to find out where this needs to be used. Is it indoors, is it outdoors, is it going to be wall mounted or floor standing? That's going to be your first thing that you need to look at, because that'll also determine the type of brackets and so forth that you're going to use. The second one, the width and the height of the screen area. How big do you want this thing to be? All right. So width and height determine the actual LED area. So if we know it's going to be 5 meters by 3 meters high or whatever, then we can work out the amount of LED blocks that we need. All right, something like that. The final width and height according to the actual number of LED cabinets. Okay, so that's what I just mentioned there. Now, this viewing distance, very important, right? So the nearest viewing distance and the best viewing distance, these we've got recommendations, okay? You can obviously move a little bit further away if you'd like to, move a little bit closer if you'd like to, but these are nice ballpark figures to work with. All right, so how does it work? 1 times 1,000, okay, for the pixel pitch. All right, so the pixel pitches we mentioned, like for this one as an example, 1.2 millimeter pixel pitches, 1.2 millimeters times 1,000 gets you to 1.2 meters, and then times 1. That's the closest that you should be to this monitor. All right, so for a pixel pitch of 1.2, don't come closer than 1.2 meters, but the best viewing distance is times 3. So you can see 3 times the pixel pitch in meters. All right, so you times the pixel pitch with 1,000 to get it into meters, and then times 3 for your best viewing distance. So 3.6 meters away from a 1.2 pixel pitch monitor, and so forth. That's how it goes along. All right, so not difficult math. I hope you kept up. If you forget this, no problem. We're there to help, like I mentioned. Okay, so and then the last one, select the type of control products. All right, so we need to know then, after we determined all these previous criteria, what kind of control do we need? And this includes obviously outputs and input type of signals. All right, so how many LED controllers do we need? Do we need a video wall controller? And so on and so on and so on. So then you're going to determine this part here. So this is basically the flow of things, how you determine which type of monitor system you're going to need for your configuration. All right, LED splicing. All right, so what have we done to our monitors? What we've done is we've upgraded the monitors mainly for the VESA structure, so the VESA type of brackets and so forth. So the new monitors are all VESA compliant, so it takes all the VESA type of brackets. But if you have this monitor with maybe a previous bracket for the older monitors, it will still be compatible. So the new monitors will include the mounting types for the old monitor brackets, as well as the new VESA, the VESA layout or the VESA structure. Right, that's the main upgrade on these monitors for the mounting type. All right. Okay, I'm not going to go through all of this. All that I wanted to show you on this here is for our LCD monitors from 46-inch, 49-inch, and 55 inches. Now, these monitors are mainly meant to put up video walls, similar to the LED type of video walls, but obviously there are bezels on these monitors, and you can see the smallest bezel we've got. There's a 1.7 millimeter bezel in the different range monitors we've got. So 1.7 millimeters is quite thin. All right. If you don't want any bezels, then LED blocks are the way to go. But otherwise, a small little bezel like this, 0.88 in fact, is quite thin. So you almost won't even notice this. All right. So what else about our LED splicing? What is new? All right. So apart from the normal LED type of video walls, and I think, sorry, LCD video walls, we can see the monitors, we can see a small little bezel there in between and so forth. I think this is the almost want to call it generic, but I think a control room will normally consist of this type of monitors here. What have we done differently? Okay. The problem with this is it always needs to be in a flat type of rectangular fashion, right? Always this kind of a setup. So what we've done now, we've created a new splicing box. This splicing box allows you to make any kind of a configuration of the monitors, right, and still make sense of it. So you can see this type of layout over here, this one even over here, and so forth. So you can do whatever with these monitors that you want, mount them in any way, any direction, and the LED splicing box will help you make get the correct video layout, make it nice and flat again on these. All right, so this guy here makes your life a lot more flexible. So this type of thing will obviously not be used in your control rooms, but maybe shopping centers and so forth, making it a little bit more creative on that side. All right, so digital signage server that we use a FoxSign type of server. This is software that you can get from us. I'm going to tell you about this in a moment or two. For our normal monitors, we go from any size 22 inches all the way to up to 55 inches here. This is for the wall-mounted type of monitors. And again, these monitors, it's not the normal type of PC monitors. There's more for your digital signage. So monitors, anything from 22 to 55 inches. All right, so you can see we've got touchscreen versions. So the model number with TL at the back there. FN is for the narrow bezel. So we've got very narrow bezels even on these ones if you wanted. And then we have the UN. So the UN, the U stands for UHD or 4K, basically the high resolution, and the N for the narrow bezel. So we go up to 4K resolution on this with a narrow bezel. Okay. Then for the rest of the floor standing, if you've ever visited our office, you would have noticed in our reception, we've got one of these floor standing type of digital signage monitors. Now between 43 and 55 inches. And then we have digital signage boxes and servers to be able to push information through to all of these monitors and so forth, and be able to control all of them at the same time. So there's obviously two different ones, the digital signage box and the digital signage server over there. All right, so we moved from, well, this is all actually available, hardware server to software server. And this is the FoxSign software that you buy from us, which will gives you a little bit more flexibility and also free management for up to 50 terminals. All right, so you can control up to 50 terminals with this one free of charge, and then you just buy licenses from there on up. What you can do that's similar between the hardware and the software versions, you can manage up to 30 to 500 terminals. Okay, so the maximum can be 500 terminals, and the same with this one, but we can customize it with a little bit of extra charge if you're going over 50 over there on that one. So free software there for up to 50, and then obviously like licenses, like I mentioned, for if you go over 50, but a total of 500 that you can control from the software side. All right, so how does this side work? This side works like very similar to a Hikvision type of a setup. It's more of a server base. So you're running the server over there, and then you've got clients that logs into the server, like you can see over here, and they can push through the server to these monitors, whatever you would like to display. So your shopping centers, maybe catering areas, inside shops, clothing stores, transportation, wherever you want to use these things, hallways, airports, wherever. All right, I think the applications are endless basically, but your clients will log into the server and push whatever to them that they need to. All right, that concludes it for our transmission and display presentation for today. I hope open up your eyes a little bit to show you that Hikvision is not just a CCTV company. Yes, CCTV, like I mentioned, is our core business, but we also venture into other directions to be able to be like a one-stop shop eventually for all kinds of technology. All right, let's quickly have a look. If you have any questions, please pop them into the Q&A box regarding these monitors. Myself and Damon we're gonna try and answer as many as we can. Damon, are you there? Are you online?
Yes, I'm online.
Okay, perfect, great stuff. Okay, so if you have any questions, please throw them our direction in the Q&A boxes, and we will gladly answer them right there for you.